Welcome to eXplore. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. We're coming to you from a studio in Campbell River, and joining us today is Heather Gordon Murphy, an almost lifelong resident of Campbell River, who is the chair of the Downtown BIA, which is the Business Improvement Association, but now undergoing a name change to Business in Action. Now, Heather, welcome so much. We are so glad you're here to have this conversation.
Thanks very much, Mary Ruth.
So before we get into the BIA and the downtown core and Campbell River and how everything is evolving, let's start with you, because you are a very fascinating person.
Oh, thank you.
So where were you born?
I was born in Vancouver,
Okay.
but I came to Campbell River at a very young age and was raised here in Campbell River. Yeah.
Okay, and how old were you when you came over?
I lived in Ladysmith for a little bit of time and then came to Campbell River when I was just between 4 and 5. I was almost 5, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that you do, you're also the owner and operator of the RainCoast Musical Theater, which you teach dance, you teach voice. Like, did you have an interest in that yourself as a child? Like, did you grow up in that world?
Very much so, yeah. My parents, like I said, Campbell River was a very small town when I moved here. There wasn't a lot to do. My parents were both raised in one in Union Bay and one in Courtenay. Again, very small centers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we kind of made our own fun. And so we did lots of, we did skits, we did lots of things like that. So I started taking dance when I was 5. And it was just my happy place. I realized very, very early on that I loved to dance and I loved to be on stage, which is interesting because I was a very shy child. I was very shy. I wasn't really out there. I loved to dance, and then I just found out that I loved to perform for people. So I did that for many, many years, mostly taking my classes in the Comox Valley because there wasn't classes in Campbell River. Eventually a teacher came to Campbell River from the Comox Valley, would come once a week, so I would take classes there, and that's what I did. And then I also became involved in musical theater in the Comox Valley again. We always went south. There was nothing in Campbell River. I mean, we didn't have a theater here. We didn't have, so everything went mostly in the Comox Valley. So I did that for many years, and then I inherited a dance school at a very young age, at 19.
Oh, wow.
Actually, Joy Woodrow, who was a dance teacher out of the Comox Valley, and she passed away. I had been teaching for her, and I inherited a dance school at 19 with 300 students.
Wow.
And jumped in and took it over. So I did that for many years. And that's basically what I did, yeah.
Now, did you do your schooling in Campbell River, though? Like your elementary school?
Yeah, elementary school.
What school did you go to?
Well, I went to Cedar Annex, which is now the Lake Wataw School. So that was went for grade 1 and 2. Grade 3 to 7, I went to Cedar School. Grade 3, somebody tried to burn down our school, so I had to go to the community hall for grade 3. And then I went to junior high, Campbell River Junior High. Then went over to Southgate because it was brand new, and then finished off at Carey High, which was the only senior high at that time.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Lots of schools.
And did you do any
And Pinecrest. I went to Pinecrest as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you do any post-secondary, or you just went right into running the dance?
Pretty well right into running. Yep. It
19.
It happened to be there. I had been, like I said, my teacher got sick, and I was teaching for her. I had taken a lot of exams, and once I took over the school, I then traveled a lot. And took a lot of dance exams and dance training to get the certification of the Royal Academy of Dance, the Canadian Dance Teachers Association.
Right.
All of that. I'd already done a lot of Scottish dancing and had a lot of certificates from that. So that's what I did sort of as I was also teaching. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Growing up, what would you say? Is there a particular event from your childhood that stands out as the moment that you knew that was going to be your path? Either childhood or young adult, like what, or adolescent, I mean. So was there an event or something that happened that in your brain it kind of went click and you knew?
I don't know about the path. I can go farther back, and I have kind of a fun story. When I was 5 years old, literally, and I was had been taking lessons, and I knew my dance very, very well. And it was a little dance. It was a tap dance, and it was an Eskimo dance, which is, I know, very un-PC. However, we were little Eskimos, and we had the orange crates were covered in white paper, and that was there was our ice cube, and we tip-tappied on top of that. We were going to the strawberry tea at the Willow Point Hall, and the strawberry tea still happens at the Willow Point Hall every year.
What is the strawberry tea?
The strawberry tea is when the strawberries come out, and that's usually in June, and May, June, and they have a tea. At least they did up until not very long ago. I don't know if they've redone it since COVID. Yeah, and so they have a tea.
Who operates
it's
that?
the Lions
Oh,
that have
okay.
the Willow Point Hall. Yes,
Okay.
the ladies all make, and it was lovely. So they had entertainment, and we were performing, and that was my very first time to perform at the Strawberry Tea at the Willow Point Hall. And so I went, and I had never performed on stage before, and I remember getting up on the little stage there, and I started to do my tap dance in my little costume that my mom made all the costumes. And I tippy-tapping, and I thought, well, this is fun, except that I was facing the wrong way. I was facing backwards, because I'd never been on stage before. But I explicitly remember turning around, because they had a little turnaround spot, and I remember looking out at everybody and going, oh, there's all the people. And I just felt at home.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting, because I didn't really, and I stayed with that.
Yeah.
I felt that I did a lot of performing. I didn't do tons of performing, and I knew that dance and I think it was what I was able to pass on to others. That confidence,
Right.
some would come a little bit trickier, but just being able
Yeah.
to be comfortable and confident in front of people.
Yeah.
As long as you were well prepared. I think that probably was one of the most defining things. It was
Yeah.
a long time ago. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that was the defining moment for you.
Well, and I don't remember much before that. Not good memory.
A lot of performers say that, like they're really shy, but yet they are extraordinary performers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're in good company.
Yeah.
Now, when you were 19 years old and you're faced with inheriting a dance school with 300 dancers, like, did you know that was coming, or was that a surprise? Like, did she tell you ahead of time what her plan was before she passed away?
Not really. I had been teaching for her. It was clear that she was going to pass away. I went on a 4-month holiday down to Mexico during kind of the summertime, and when I came back just after she had passed away. So it wasn't a matter of it was just the students were there. There was a season starting, and I basically carried on. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't even remember hesitating, strangely enough. I don't know. It just was like, nope, it's here, way to go, and I will carry on.
Okay, cool. Now, what would you say, what was your first major production that you put on with your students? Was it that year's year-end celebration that they
stretching my
do?
memory. We did a year-end show, and we did sometimes it was a generic. Most of the shows we did at the beginning were at the Carey High Gym, because we had no theater here. There was no performing arts theater at all. I do remember our first show at the Tidemark Theater, which was such a huge thing. I mean, to be able to go to a place where everything was already there. You didn't have to bring the lights in, you didn't have to bring the seats in, you bring everything in, was phenomenal. And we did a show that I often would take stories and then recreate them into a dance. So this was the story of the Seven Swans. It's an old like a fairy tale, and we recreated it, found music that we used, and created a story out of that. And it was wonderful. It was really, really lovely. So that was the first one that we did in the Tidemark at my dance school. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned music, and so how difficult is it in today's environment and how expensive is it to get a piece of music that's going to allow you to actually do a musical show or a dance? Like, copyright has become, not that it's a bad thing, but it has become an issue.
We just used all our music, and then eventually you would have to, in order to satisfy the venue that you were going in, i.e. the Tidemark Theater, you would have to sort of SoCan, it's not even called SoCan anymore, but SoCan, you would just pay a blanket fee.
Right.
And that would cover you for using the music, whatever that was.
Right.
Much of the stuff I used in my shows at the Tide Market, at least originally, where it was classical music, so it's way.
So you don't need to worry about that. Okay.
Yeah, so it was classical music that, mind you, it was done oftentimes by more current performers, but
right.
We didn't need to worry about that. So that's how that worked. In musical theater, we, which I do now, and which I did all the way through. At the same time I had my dance school, I was also working with Colville choristers and choreographing their musicals down in the Comox Valley.
Okay.
And it would all have to go through the proper channels, and the same thing with our musical theater school.
Okay.
You pay a certain amount of money, and then you get the rights to do it, and the books and everything. So we do.
Okay.
So it varies. There can be, just depends on how expensive, how popular, the more popular a show is, the more expensive it is. Yeah.
Do they not have a financial break for the smaller organizations?
They
that
have,
are
yes, they do. So nonprofit
profit?
is different than profit, obviously. Nonprofit
Okay.
is different than professional.
Okay.
In RainCoast School of Musical Theater, we use because we're a school, because that means, though we're limited, that we couldn't have anybody in our show under 18. Or over 18. So 18, our students have to be 18 and under because that's a school.
Yep.
And then we get a break for that. So we're doing a school, what we call a school version, and we do the junior school version. So it's kind of a condensed one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's less expensive. It still costs money. It's less expensive.
Now, so you teach. So you teach dance and you teach vocal. And do you only teach students or do you teach adults too?
I used to teach a lot adults. I haven't been teaching adults. I teach yoga, which is a different. I'm part of a yoga collaborative, and I teach yoga. I was teaching adult ballet and some adult dance. I didn't redo that after the crazy COVID thing. It just, the way it worked out, it didn't end up connecting. So I teach theater, and I teach dance and movement. I have a business partner, Christy Miller, who actually teaches all the vocal, and Amy Elliott as well, who does the vocal training in our school. I can't sing. I'm not a trained vocal teacher, however.
Okay.
So we do that together. So so that's what.
Cool.
But I probably won't start teaching adults again, although I really did enjoy it. We'll see.
Yeah. Maybe it's something you could offer through Elder College.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of have thought about that. I get a lot of requests. I love teaching. You know, as much as I love youth, I love teaching youth, and I love teaching professional dancers. I really, really like teaching beginners. I find it really rewarding to work with people in the dance world, especially sometimes people don't think they can dance. I can't dance, or I can't do this, and it's like, no, you can. And that's why I love doing adult musical theater shows as well, is to let people know that dance is no different than walking. I mean, it's movement. Right. So
okay. Now, how long have you been involved with the Downtown BIA?
I don't know exactly, and Jen would be able to tell me if she was here, and she's not. I would say probably it's about 7 years, and it could be a few more than that, 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you've been here since you were 4.
Yep.
So you've seen every possible incarnation of Campbell River as a city. Mm-hmm. So why don't you walk us through that? From your perspective, what you've seen in your 40 years.
That's amazing, an amazing growth. I mean, going from just a few schools, and like I said, very little, infrastructure. We didn't have an arena until I was in high school, so I never learned to skate. I mean, we skated on the ponds because it froze and everything, but there was no of that. We did have we didn't have to do with the downtown. We had no malls, we had no all of that. So we had a very vibrant downtown with lots of shops. We had a lot of shops downtown. We had 3 or 4 drugstores, because that's what they were, was drugstores. And we had grocery stores, because that's what they were, grocery stores. So that was very much, the way, old small town way of being. Everything was, everything was closed. Friday night, everything was open till 9. Yep. And that was really cool, because you could, as a teenager, you could go downtown on a Friday night, and there was things open, and you wouldn't, that was a cool thing to do. And Sundays, everything was closed too. So everything was closed Sunday and Monday. I mean, everything. Yeah. Corner store and everything. We had one or two corners, a few corner stores.
I miss those days.
I do to a point. I miss varying parts of it. Absolutely, I do. So that is huge, you know. And when things started to expand and we got more, just more people and more infrastructure.
So you've been here quite a while. Did the Tyee Plaza, when did that happen?
It was here when I moved here. So my husband is a few years older than me, and he moved here and it wasn't here. So he remembers when the water went right along in front of the tide mark. So I moved here just not long after.
So whose bright idea was it to backfill?
That was the province. And the reason they did it was to make it so that the Quadra Island Ferry could have a place to park. The city of Campbell River was very, very much against it. I know because my father-in-law was on, various people I know were on the, well, I don't even know if we had a mayor back then, but we had a board of something.
Yeah.
And most people in Campbell River, or at least they did not want it to happen.
Okay.
And it was trumped by the provincial government at the time, province,
okay.
so that the Quadra Island Ferry had a place to
dock.
Yes.
Okay. So here's my next question.
Yep.
Whose bright idea was it to build the Tyee Plaza buildings backwards?
Well, you can call it backwards. Yeah, absolutely. However,
because you've got literally a world-class view on the other side of the buildings that they're not facing.
Yeah.
And you can't see it from Shoppers Row.
Yep.
Had the buildings been turned around or positioned differently, everybody would have that world-class view, and it would be an exceptional.
I agree.
Exceptional.
However, growing up here, I mean, our weather has changed, as we just spoke about.
Yeah.
And, you know, from mid-October to mid-March, we were southeasters. It was blowing. It was gross. So that would have been, nobody would have been walking along there because the wind and the weather was just, that's what I remember. I remember walking to school in the rain and the wind, and I remember walking home in the rain and the wind, like a lot. A lot. We had little clumps in August that were hot and warm. Sometimes those, and you know, over the years, obviously that has shifted.
Yeah.
But yeah, you wouldn't put a bunch of stores fronting on literally just the wind comes from the southeast, and that's where it would come. So that is why it was built that way. We didn't do a mall. A mall came a bit later at the Ironwood Mall, and that was huge to be able to go inside and shop because it literally, that was the, I mean, I think, I'm sure that was the reason for that. It doesn't make any sense now.
Yeah.
And it's not ideal.
And I understand Thrifty's is actually leaving from that location.
From the mall.
From the mall.
Apparently, yeah. But I mean, the Tyee Plaza, you know, looking at it now, of course, in hindsight, it was dumb to have all that concrete and, you know, all that parking, all that kind of stuff, and having it facing the wrong way. At the time, it was like, we could still go shopping and didn't have to be out in the weather as much. So
has the weather shifted that much in your lifetime here?
I think so. I mean, we still have those southeasters, but not. It seems
not
like
as
there was
more.
It seems like there was more. Not cold. We didn't get a lot of cold, although we got snow, and we'd get big piles of snow every once in a while. Yeah. Big piles. I remember when we couldn't get out our door once. We lived on Ridgeview, couldn't open the door because the snow was up to the top of the door. Crazy. Every once in a while, but just the wind and the rain. I never minded it, but it was steady. It was really steady. We used to, because there was nothing to do, when it was a really howling southeaster, we put our slickers on and boots on and our hats on, and we'd go down and stand at the end of my mother loved weather, stand at the end of the breakwater and just stand there and let the weather just kind of come over us. I always said there wasn't a whole lot to do in Campbell River, so that was one of the things we did.
Okay, so as the chair of the Downtown BIA, Campbell River, like almost every other city in Canada, is really struggling with a homeless population. And like every province seems to be in the same boat. The federal housing, it stopped having a federal housing program in 1990 under Brian Mulroney, and then every prime minister since then failed to restart it again until now it's finally restarted. But it's too little too late to catch up to what we need. So you're faced with a growing population of homeless in the downtown core, and many have incredibly complex issues. and currently there's nowhere for them to go for the complex care that they need. So how are you working towards supporting them, and who is it you're working with?
Oh, who do you mean by them?
Because there's a new committee that,
I'm supporting everybody in Campbell River. I have to say, I'm supporting the businesses hugely.
Yep.
I'm supporting the people I know that are unhoused, and there are a lot of them. I'm supporting the single moms. I think globally. I support. We're all paddling the same canoe in the same direction to get to where we need to be. So I think that's a really important thing for me to remember all the time.
Right.
And we have challenges, much like everywhere else, obviously.
Okay.
There's a new, actually, UBCM is in Vancouver right now, and we have a lot of people, obviously, from Campbell River over there, and we have some big asks. I'm not going to say what they are because I'm not sure if I'm able to now, because but it will come when they come. Yeah. Some big asks for some money for housing, for treatment, for security, all those things that we need that all intertwined, that we all need to make our city a better city for everyone.
Yeah.
So I've worked hard on a safety and security program for overnight that has been.
And that's with the businesses, yeah.
Yes, it's
and that's been fairly successful, correct?
It has been. It has been, in so much that I was asked to attend the AGM of the Parksville BIA 2 years ago, and I went down there and talked about this program that I had set up, and they're implementing it as we speak, and they're actually tweaking it and moving it around to fix it, to tweak some of the things that we did here. Yes, I think it's been very successful. And again, I say it's been successful in having a lot of eyes on the street. It's also, I know some of the people that are security people that are working for the businesses and for the city of Campbell River, they also save lives.
Okay.
Because they're the eyes out on the street overnight. There's nobody else out there.
Right.
So that makes a difference.
And that program has expanded from the downtown out to the other areas a little bit,
A little bit, yes, absolutely. And I ran the program myself, doing all the infrastructure and doing all the invoicing and all of that kind of stuff, which was really hard work for me because it's not in my wheelhouse, and I didn't mind doing it. It was to set it up. I've now just and with our treasurer for the VIA, Gabby, now handed that over so that the company that does the security, they are all handling that now. And that came out of this thing with Parksville. They kind of figured, how can we make this work? And with the city of Campbell River as well. So that's been wonderful to be able to put that away.
All right, good. Now, what is your, have a look 5 years out. What do you see?
I see Campbell River growing still. I mean, I don't see it not growing. People are coming here. I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful. I like growth can be a bit overwhelming, and I talk to people all the time that I wish it was like it was years ago and all that kind of stuff. And there are certain aspects of Campbell River. There's a nostalgia, but carries. You know what? Things are tough right now, but holy smoly, were they tough in the before. I've been through that one before, and you say that, when you have not much and things are it's tough. I also like growth in that it allows new people to come to town with fresh eyes. That's what I love to do. I love to meet people with fresh eyes. They see things differently, and I see it all the time. I see it with the young. I mean, we have tons of young people, young students in our musical theater school. Last year, I think, or the year before, right after COVID, we had almost a third of the students were brand new to Campbell River.
Oh my God!
A lot, that's a lot.
That's a big number.
That's a big number, and that's what I tell people also about that. Thinking of moving to Campbell River, is sometimes people feel if they're coming out of a bigger center, they might not get the expertise in sport, in dance,
or the amenities.
But I'm thinking of for kids, and we have really, really high quality of expertise in
Right.
sports and the arts and all that. The difference is in Campbell River, once you've reached that post-secondary, you have to move on to make it a career. Obviously, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
But we have it all here. So
But I would say that expertise goes across the board.
Yes, absolutely.
To all of the business community, all of the nonprofit organizations, the way
Absolutely.
that they're operated, the Rotaries, the Rivercity Player Theater, the Tidemark Theater. Like, these are like the Strathcona Gardens, which is about to undergo a big renovation. Like, all of these things are wonderful amenities for a community to have and a place for people to find their place and their way of expression.
And exactly. And, you know, for me, I have 3 sons, and if Campbell River hadn't continued to grow up with families, if it hadn't continued, they probably wouldn't be here.
Oh, okay.
And they're able to be here. And that's what I say. There are opportunities for youth here. I mean, it's not for everybody and it's not perfect. However, I can't believe the number of people that, you know, when you graduated from Campbell River, when I graduated, oh my gosh, most people, I'm getting out of here. I'm going. I'm out of here. A lot of the people I graduated are moving back. Lots and lots are moving back. For whatever reason.
And younger families are coming to raise their kids here because they're like, we don't want to be in a city.
Because they can. And also, I see right now and in the next 5 years, I see opportunities because, you know, when there isn't something here, there's an opportunity to create it.
Right,
you know?
because there's a big enough population now to support new.
And I see that a lot where people come here and they think, oh, we don't have such and such. Well, maybe we should literally get a few people together and create it. You can do that here now.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to learn a bit more about your story and your journey, and it's very inspirational. And I'm sure that every young child out there that's watching is going to go, oh, okay, there is a place for me here. So that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mary Ruth.
You've been watching eXplore. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again.